Hey everyone, it's JP and I've got another bracelet design for you. I am doing the tri-stitch bracelet for you today. And here's the piece. I'm using some 4mm round beads. So these are Druks, 4mm bicones, and some 11/0s. And those are the Miyuki Round Galvanized Silver Duracoat. That's what those are, and that's it. You don't actually need a bunch of different bead types. Basically, you could use 2 different color rounds. So it's any 4mm bead will work. So this here I use for bicones and rounds, and then in this bracelet I used fire polish, and these are 4mm. Now the difference between the 2 designs is that I added the bicone between the gaps, whereas here I did not add a bead, and I just left it as is, and it still creates a really nice piece. So you don't even need the second bead type if you don't want it, so really kind of up to you. But the stitch is called triangular stitch, and really fun bracelet to make. So for the length of the bracelet that I needed to use, so let's go down here. I did about a 5.5-inch bracelet, and then my clasp added about a 1/2 inch. So I usually need about a 6-inch bracelet. And so in order to make this bracelet, I will have all the numbers, but it was 53 of the fire polish is what I needed. And same thing here with the 4mm rounds. In addition, I forget how many of the bicones I did. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it's 26 of the bicones, so counting both sides. Anyway, but like I said, you can leave that off and just do it without, and here's what you get. Okay, so to start our piece, what you're going to do is pick up a 4mm, an 11, a 4, 11, a 4, and an 11. And basically you want 3 of each. And once you have your 3, go back through all the beads, and you're going to pull them into a ring. So just like this, and in order to tighten this up, I'm going to go through a couple of the beads here. Alright, and then what I am going to do is make a 1/2 inch knot. And just make sure everything is nice and tight, and go through my 4mm round here. And then I'm going to pick up 5 of my 11s. There's 5, and go back around. Just that 4mm. And then go into the middle bead of that group of 5. Pick up 4 11s. And go back into the bead. So all I've done is pick up 4 11s and go back through that same middle bead here. And then what I'm going to do is go into the first 11. I'm trying to keep my thumb out of the way. And then pick up an 11 and go into the next 11. I'm sure you know what I'm doing. If you've been watching my videos, then you know that I'm making my clasp loop here, and I make that little diamond pattern, which I love to do. I try to think of that as my little signature now. So I picked up an 11, went through the next 11, and I'm repeating this one more time. And there is my loop. So I can put a jump ring in here, and I'm good to go. So now I'm going to just reinforce and go through all of these beads one more time. So this is if you think about it, this is actually, I've gone through this 3 times. And there. Had a bit of a knot form. So just going through the beads again. So you may have to do these 2 beads at a time because of the angle of the beads. Okay, so I've gone back around the loop. So I'm going to go down the beads here on the side. And then through my 4mm bead here. I'm just going to turn it just because easier for me to go this way. And I'm just reinforcing this part of the loop here. And I just need to go back through. Still just, I'm not adding anything, I'm just still finishing up my reinforcement. So I've gone through that a couple of times now, so this should be in good shape. So now to continue adding beads, what I'm going to do is go into the next 11 and the next 4mm. So this is what you should have at this point. Then pick up an 11, a 4, 11, a 4, and an 11. So this time you only want 2 of the 4mm and 3 of the 11s. And then just go back around the 4mm here where the thread is exiting. So this is what you should get. And then what you're going to do, and just turn the work over, is go through the next 11 and the 4. And you're just repeating the same thing now until you get the length that you need. So I'm going to do an 11, a 4, 11, a 4, and an 11. Again, just 2 of the large beads and 3 of the smaller 11s, and then just go back around just the 4. And this is what you should get. And again, so basically what you're going to do is go through the 11 and the 4, and that is it. So you're going to end up getting a zigzag pattern. As you can see, it's starting to form. So there's this way, and then the beads go up and down. So they're going to form that kind of chevron style pattern. And again, all you're doing is 11, 4, 11, 4, and 11. And back through that same 11. And again, just going through 11 and the 4, and you're in position to add more beads. Just make sure you keep your tension nice and tight. You don't want to have any slack in the thread. And repeat. 11, 4, 11, 4, and 11. And back through just the 4. And like I said before, just go through the 11 and the 4. Just like so, and this is what you should get. All right, last time, and then I'm gonna move on to the next part. So again, I'm picking up an 11, a 4, 11, 4, and an 11. So 5 beads total. And I'm gonna go back through just the 4. And you should get this pattern. and then just go through the 11 and 4. So continue doing these steps until you get the length that you need. And don't forget to take into account the length that your clasp will add. All right, so as you keep working your bracelet, here's what you should have. Got a good length going, so you want to go to the desired length that you want and then add a couple of more units, because when we get to the next step, there's going to be a little bit of shrinkage of the bracelet. But before we could do that, I want to go ahead and show you how to add the clasp loop on the other side here. So just like I did before, you're going to pick up 5 11s and go back around just this bead. So basically I added this unit on and then I went into, so I would have gone around this 4mm bead, and then after I've done that I went ahead and went through the 11 and this 4, so I'm coming out and that's where I want to be, just so I'm positioned just as if I were adding thread. And in this case I've added my 5 beads, and make sure I don't get those confused. I'm going to go into the middle bead here, and so this is what I'm going to get. I'm going to pick up 4 11s and go back around that middle bead, and I've just turned the work over. Then I'm just going to go into the first 11, and I'm going to pick up another 11 and go into the next 11 here in the group. And again, pick up an 11, go into the next one. And last time, pick up an 11, and then you're going into the next 2 11s. So just don't forget, you are coming out of that. All right. And okay, so I'm going to reinforce my little loop here. So trying to get into the next 2 beads here. And then I am going to go into the next 2 as I work. You'll find it easier to go through 2 at a time, just because the beads are in these right angles essentially, so much easier. Okay, now that I've reinforced my diamond here, my little diamond pattern, what I'm going to do is then go down the 2 beads on the side and then through the 4mm, and then go up into the 2 beads here, through the bead in the middle, and then the 2 beads on the opposite side. Okay, so I've reinforced it and should feel very secure. You can go ahead and do that do it again if you want, if you don't think it's secure enough. For the next step, what you're going to do is go through the 11, the 4, and the 11. So this is where you should pop up, or you pop up. Your thread should be coming out. And then what you're just going to do is pick up another 4mm bead of your choice. So in this case, I'm using bicones. And I'm going to go through these next 3 beads here. And it's going to fall between the gap here, right here. And you just want to pop it into place. Don't pull too tight. You want to keep the tension as even as possible. And then you're just going to repeat all the way down the bracelet on one side. Just like so. And don't worry about the little bit of, I'm just loose right here, but it'll, and this is what I was talking about when I say that it'll shrink up a little bit. So it'll tighten all the beads and bring them closer together. So, continue. Basically all I'm doing is just pulling it through. This also stabilizes the bracelet, and it'll feel a lot stronger in your hand. So, and you're just going through 3 beads just like this, and just popping your bicone into place, or whatever 4mm you choose. Okay, so it's really straightforward, nothing complicated about the step. You're just popping it into place. And once you're done, I will show you how to get to the other side. But essentially, you're just gonna, you'll come to this point, you'll add in the last one here, and then just follow the thread path and make your way around. Okay, so in this case, I've added my bicone on one side, and I'm at the end right here. And for this part, what I'm going to do is actually pick up an 11, coming out, make sure you can see what I'm doing here. I'm coming out of this 11. I'm going to go into this next 11 in the middle. And then I am going to pick up another 11, and I'm going to go through the 4mm here. Like so, and just make sure those beads just pop into place. And then we're going to start working the other side. So before I go any further though, first I'm going to pop in an 11, or pick up an 11, and then go through the 11 and the 4 and the next 11. So you should have something like this, and now you're in position to continue adding the rest of your bicones or whatever bead you're using. And so I'm going to go ahead and pick up my bicone and just continue doing what I was doing before. So I'm going through the 3 beads, so the 11, the 4mm, and the 11. And just going to work my way down to the end. Just like so. So keep going. And I have added all of my beads, and so this last part, I'm going to do what I did before at the other end. I'm going to pick up an 11. I'm coming out of this 11 and just going into the 11 here. And then one more 11. And I'm at the end of my thread here. And then going through the 4mm. And so there's the 11 in place. Then another 11 and into the 4mm. Get that in place, and then I just need one more, and I'm just going to go through the next 3 beads. And so this is what you should have. And at this point I'm going to tie a 1/2 inch knot to get everything in place. And just pull the knot into the bicone. So you can kind of tie a couple of these. I could tie one between the 11 here and the 4mm around. My thread's so short, so I'm going to go. Trick to this is when your thread is getting short, but at this point I don't really need to add more thread. What I do is go through backwards. Still ties the knot, and then I can just continue through. And now I can trim my thread. Okay, so the last thing I've got to do is just add jump rings to the loops here and the clasp, and we're done. But basically, here it is, the finished bracelet. It's very pretty. It sparkles quite a bit because of the bicones that I'm using. But you can just mix and match so many different colors and combinations that could be done. And you can, as I showed you earlier in the video, you can do this with the fire polish, and in this case I actually didn't add a bead in between the gaps, and I just left it. And it has it changes the look a little bit, but still looks great, I think. So a couple options for you there. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one.